It's a work in progress, but
go.
thank you. Always something to do.
We're up.
Oh, I know that
Okay.
feeling.
So let's call this to order at 6:31. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anthony section.
Yeah, two, I think.
Everybody?
Well, one there, one here. Josh Walker.
Thank you. All right. Move to the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
I second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Delegation of visitors. I don't think we've got anybody signed up to speak. So we'll move to item 4, items for board action, admin contracts in review.
So as Cindy was preparing payroll for the last couple months of the school year, when she was looking at language on contracts, one of them, two of them were worded differently than the other two. So mine and Cindy's and Troy's for confidential and admin, I'll read out that you can cash out a week of your vacation days, et cetera. And the one up here on the current elementary principal and special service director did not say that. It just, it's a use it or lose it type situation for their vacation. So what I had talked about with Amber is that I wanted to bring that forward and that they would be able to cash out like the other ones. When we had done those contracts, it was at the same time that we had done mine, if you remember, it was the same year. Troy's was different. It was a year last year. And so we had that one similar to this one. And Cindy's was the same. So I was just coming to you folks today to discuss that. And I don't know if there was any other question or anything you wanted to say, Amber, or not on this.
Is there a cost for that? What that comes to annually? I didn't know. if that-
Sure. So it would be, for the salary, it would be about 2,000.
I think at the time we talked about that when we redid theirs, we wanted to make that change. We wanted them to all move to the direction of being able to cash out their vacation. We all know how much you guys put in. We know that, and so it's positive for us if they can cash it out because that means they're here. We don't want you to burn out though.
Either way, they're using it.
Well, I think it's also good that our contracts are consistent. I mean, regardless of what the exact language is, there should be consistency between the leadership and contracts, so. All right, well,
So do we have a motion?
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'd like to move to change the principal and special service director's salary to match, contract to match the superintendent's cashing out vacation language.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Any objection by Aaron or Christie on that one?
That's fine.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, let's move to item B, playground.
So we just had the discussion earlier, but we needed to have authorization whether or not we can move forward with the revision that we had proposed for the playground for the purchase of the GT Wave, the installation, and then the surfacing change to it. We have enough money in our that we've already received to go ahead and move forward in purchasing that out of this year's funds, so the money that we've received and should have with the other people as well to purchase the item itself. And then again, the surfacing would come out of next year's budget.
So we just need another motion for $30,000.
Yeah.
I'll move to allocate $30,000 for the playground.
And that we have the ability to go ahead and move forward and purchase the GT Wave.
And to purchase the GT Wave.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. To kindergarten numbers and mini moves.
So usually, at this time of year, we look at kindergarten numbers for next year. By the way, the 23-24 is not the number of students, it's the year. So there was a little uncertainty with some of us when we were discussing this earlier.
Sure.
So right now in kindergarten, we have 18 students total, 13 in district, 5 siblings of those that are currently in district, or currently out of district who have brothers or sisters that are already going to school here. So that would be a total of 18 students. Again, the last few years, well, not during COVID, but prior to that, and then this last year, we had gotten to 22 at this time, and then waited to see after registration if there was any other additions after that, and to see if there was any desire to put any more at that. So that was the first part. Also, there's a thing about preschool interest. That has been something that has been discussed, but we could only have 10 students, not 12 anymore, 10 students, and that would have to probably pencil out to be about $230 a month for halftime. It'd actually be about 3 hours. So these may be 2 separate discussions, but because the age, how close they were in age, we just had put them both on there. Missy had put those both on there when she texted me. We do have 11 yes, 2 maybes, and 3 or 3-year-olds that are interested. So there's 16 total that are interested. If we did this, it would have to be, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not gonna say we'll for sure have some other source of budgeting or funding, because we are not interested in the playground, or the preschool promise, because that would exclude people in our community. Because they may not qualify for the amount of, the cap on what you can make.
Correct. You can have private pay and preschool promise,
Yeah,
but it is capped.
yeah, it's capped, and I
Capped.
believe it would be about 2 total for us. And then we had to open it up more, is
Based
what my
on-
understanding.
Based on population numbers, we
Yeah.
didn't look like we'd be,
Yeah.
it didn't look like it'd be good for us.
And the 10, it was, assuming we just had 1 preschool, obviously, and that's without an assistant. If we had an assistant, obviously you could have more, but that would add cost. So we didn't really know if that would be worth it. So that was one item if we wanted to look at that. The other one that
Sorry.
sorry,
Well, on the preschool, how soon do you think you would need to make a decision to let families know? I mean,
probably June 15th. I think if we knew by June, that would probably give us,
Yeah.
there's some uncertainty right now, especially with, again, we want to try to make it self-sufficient, but there is some early learning money that may be coming in.
yeah,
like with
it's just hard to
literacy.
know.
It's hard to know right now.
That's too bad.
And without knowing, we could shoot for a July, we could do something maybe in early July, and it just depends on when those numbers are available. We could always do a special meeting and just explain to the
June
public what we're doing. Yeah, 26th.
I think something we'd have to consider is some of those families have to commit to another preschool.
Yeah, they have commitments that
Exactly.
they have to make.
I think,
Which most of them are May and June.
and I
For
think
their
one thing that
deadlines.
we need to add to our survey as we get closer to some of the numbers is the cost.
Yes, we agree.
Because that might change some of our numbers, because they just said, yes, we're interested with that.
Yes, we understand. Yeah, definitely. And again, our original amount that we were able to shoot for was about 200. I think we have 12 kids. And then when we saw the 10, it would probably have to pencil out right at $230 per student per month. And that's assuming a paycheck of about, or a pay of about $20 an hour for a teacher for that. It would be somebody that's under the halftime, so it wouldn't be a first position. But, it would be that outlay for salary.
With tuition cost of the program, is it funded all the way? Or would we have to allocate?
Yes, from when we were doing that, that's what it looked like it would be funded for that. Again, we wanted to see if there was any interest before we started punching too much numbers going forward. But I know there's been discussion about it, and we had a pre-kindergarten through 3 grant before to help cover the cost on that, but we spent that down the last year because it had been in there so long. And we just didn't know what preschool future may look like. We were we were happy about these numbers. We didn't know what that interest would be, but we have quite a few that have said they're interested. But like you said, what does 230 look like?
What's preschool cost now?
Paid $210 this year, a month, for 4 days, half days.
So it's about the same, a little bit, $20 less, but.
Jake would have paid $100 more to not drive to Dallas.
Right, yeah, and there's that factor into it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Our model used to be, and it
Those
was
are convenience.
pretty convenient when we had a half-day kindergarten, and then we had the preschool afterwards, and that helped out. That actually was great because we were able to get our kindergarten numbers pretty high because
we
they
could couple
had,
it with childcare.
what else, then once we went to full-day
We did that
kindergarten, it just
system.
changed the model. Not saying we should go back to after kindergarten, but it's, it just changed it. But we will have the facility outside. We actually have some leftover playground equipment that we could utilize out there as well. But it would be a pretty nice preschool place if we decide to move forward with that. You know, with the bathrooms, et cetera.
Is it impossible to, well, nothing's impossible, but to get a second
Person?
person in preschool?
Yes, as far as like an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
we could, that, you could increase your numbers and we just have to figure out, you know, kind of,
But
we'd
that's
have to survey some of the other areas or the other preschools around and see what they're paying their assistants.
Some of the other things we talked about in the past for an aide in preschool was that maybe one of our kids in high school would get a working credit and that didn't, need all their classes.
And we feel like we could do that with a couple of the class periods, like third and fourth period. First and second would be harder because that's our, juniors and seniors have some required classes that period that they need to take. And it's really good for their attendance if you have those specific classes first thing in the morning, gets them here. So,
so when you've had preschool in the past, did students retain for the entire year, or did you feel like you would lose a couple? Because, if you only have 10 and the whole model is like under a break even, if you lose one kid, then it's an impact.
that could
So
be,
do you know, I know, just off the top of your head, do you have a feeling, did they stay free or did
the last year
they drop off?
we struggled a little bit, but I think that was some of who we had in place with employment then at that time. There was some
You don't have to say anything.
uncertainty at that time. So, I do think in years prior to that, they were pretty consistent. And I think that that location, and having a consistent person would be advantageous. But I also feel like we had that pre-K through 3 grant before. That would help us fill that void if we had somebody leave as well.
I know the 2 years I had a grandchild in preschool, they retained the whole year. One of them was, your daughter was there that year.
Both of my kids went,
I will say that, there are some other grant funds available. I did reach out to the WSD. I just don't know what they are yet because I haven't done all my research. We've been doing other things, as you know, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't then move forward with it. I probably lean on you a little bit or who to contact at the state level, but the ESD has a new person, Justin. They split their early childhood division in half, so there's a person just overseeing that. I did reach out to that person when I got the announcement that they were taking over that role. And of course, they directed me to the preschool promise grant, so, which I get, but I was hoping for a little bit more. So I can go meet with those people at the ESD and at the state, et cetera, to try to get some other funding to help fill some of those items as well.
I'd like to be able to try to offer it, it's a good stepping stool and something that I think we should try to do.
We have the space,
Mhm.
so I think we should try. And, maybe what we'll learn this year is it's not gonna work in press anymore, but maybe it's gonna be really beneficial to the community, and I just don't want to not try and not bring preschool back. And then a couple years from now, feel like, oh, we should have done that, we should have tried. especially with the space. We bought the buildings.
So would you prefer I pencil this out and then come back to you? I can make some contact again tomorrow and Thursday and see if we can try to find out a little bit more about some other opportunities. And Jenny, if you have any numbers that you can shoot me, a contact or somebody that may be helpful at the state level, that would be helpful as well.
Yeah.
And then maybe survey our yeses and see
Yeah.
where they are financially. What they, is 230 something they can afford?
Definitely.
Are you needing from the board permission are you needing a vote to do a lottery for 4 kindergartners?
For 4 kindergartners, we would need that. And there's one other item, which is mid-year moves that I'll go over here in a second, once we're done with the preschool. Are we good with preschool then?
Yeah.
Do that. I'll get back to you on what that looks like. And then kindergartners, yes, we'd like to do 4 slots and fill those now. And then the next piece would be traditionally students who had moved from in-district to out-of-district during the school year. Traditionally, we have kept those students, but that takes board approval on that as well. So those are the 2 motions I'm looking for tonight, is whether or not to move forward with.
Do we have any summer moves also, or is it just mid-year?
It's just mid-year right now. We didn't have any last summer.
How many do we have?
I believe it's just 2
For mid-year.
for mid-year.
Okay, I'd make a motion that we open up the kindergarten lottery for 4 slots.
Second that. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And I will make a motion that we retain our mid-year moves as Perrydale students.
Second.
You want to say the number?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we'll get back to that other one later.
Yeah.
So at this time, we'll move into executive session under ORS is 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations.
You come back later. Yeah.
Hey, you can sit out in the lounge.
Yeah.
Just-
You ran out, really wanted to
Come
have a
back in
seat.
after
They
the
have